Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and this is stuffed pesto chicken with Orzo Risotto. Well, today we're doing some comfort food with an Italian flair. We're gonna be making stuffed chicken breasts, so stuffed full of cheeses, pesto, coated in panko and baked on the grill until that cheese just oozes out and starts forming a crust around the outside. My mouth's watering already. And we're gonna pair it with a risotto, but not just a regular risotto. We're gonna be using orzo pasta. So kind of different than doing your risotto with rice. They look similar, they cook up slightly different, but the texture is still fantastic. So first thing we gotta do is warm up some stock for our risotto, then we'll hop into prepping the chicken. So I found a package of dried morel mushrooms at Whole Foods, and I thought that's gonna be perfect for our risotto. So we have to rehydrate these, obviously. They're all dried out and crispy. Well, we need hot stock to make risotto anyway, so we're just gonna add most of this quart of stock that we're using for the risotto to the pot with the morels, bring it up to a simmer, and just let it kind of simmer away until these are nice and soft. Now on to trimming and then pounding out our chicken breasts to stuff these. I'm just cleaning up the edges here, any membranes I see. I know they left that rib meat on just for me, but it's not gonna last once we start pounding these things out. Now I wanna get these pounded out pretty thin so that the chicken can wrap around the filling. I'm gonna put just a little bit of fat down on our work surface so that it doesn't tear, it slides. And then taking the flat side of the mallet, I'm just gonna kind of pound and push, especially the thicker areas out until they're all roughly the same thickness. It doesn't take a lot of force. In fact, you gotta tell yourself to be gentle a little bit. All right, so that's all roughly like 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick in that range. All about even, that's what we're going for. We're gonna get these into some marinade as we get them pounded out. And we're marinating in the Smoke on Wheels barbecue marinade, which is really a very a nice, savory, kind of buttery type marinade with great flavors that go great with Italian food like garlic, thyme, lemon. So we'll just layer these in one by one as we get them pounded out. All right, final chicken breast here. Cover that in Smoke on Wheels. And we're gonna set that aside to marinate for the next 30 to 45 minutes. So now in the meantime, we're gonna toast up our panko breadcrumbs to go on the outside. I'm gonna start with a couple tablespoons of olive oil. I'll let that warm up just a little bit. I'm gonna put a little seasoning in here with the panko. We're using the Cattleman's Grill Italiano. I'm just gonna add it to the oil now so it can start to toast. And then we're using 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs. Again, this is gonna coat the outside of the stuffed chicken. But you can see how it's pretty light in color. We want it to get a little bit of a darker toast onto it. Visually it's more pleasing, but more importantly, it tastes better when it's toasted. I'm gonna keep this moving so you don't scorch the bottom and add any bitterness. Once we kind of got that golden brown thing going on, you can call it good, and I think we are there. Our morels have fully rehydrated now, so I'm pulling those out so we can dice them up for our risotto. And give these a good mince so that they distribute evenly all the way throughout our orzo. It's so fun to be able to find morels in a dried form because typically you only see them when a buddy brings them in and you find them out in the wild. All right, with that all chopped up, let's set this aside and get ready to work on stuffing our chicken. So now we're ready to stuff the chicken. I'm gonna pull this out of our marinade. We'll wipe off most of that, but we also wanna leave enough behind to help stick to the panko. And we'll just start right there in the panko. I'm gonna hit it with a little bit more of that Italiano seasoning that we saw earlier. But don't come at me too hard. but I am using store-bought pesto today. If I'm gonna make a shortcut every once in a while, this is one that I don't mind. So get about a tablespoon of that. Then we're gonna lay out our provolone cheese, just one slice. And I've got about 1 ounce of low moisture mozzarella. And we're just gonna wrap this right around. Again, don't be worried that the cheese is gonna spill out. It actually turns into a pretty cool thing. And we'll just roll that through this toasted panko. And we're gonna transfer that over to our sheet pan. But first I'm gonna hit that with a little duck fat spray. Now you can also just use parchment, but honestly, the parchment usually tears when the cheese melts, so I'd rather just put a little fat down, and we'll do a little bit more cleaning on the pan than if we had parchment, but that's all right. But that's all there is to it. We'll do it 3 more times. But today we're cooking on the Yoder Smoker's YS480S pellet grill. It's running at 425 degrees, set up for indirect grilling, and we're burning hickory pellets. So we're gonna load this up on the top shelf so we can make sure that we don't overdo the bottom. Now, if the cheese starts oozing out and we need to like crisp that up a little bit, we can always move this down later. But for now, we're just gonna leave it here on the second shelf. Close this up. We'll check on it in about 20 minutes, maybe give it a little spin. So I expect the chicken to take about 45 minutes or so, maybe closer to an hour to fully cook through. It just depends on how big each one of your chicken breasts are. But in that amount of time, what we need to do is prepare our orzo, and we're doing it the risotto style today. So we're gonna get the skillet fired up, because this is a lengthy process. It's gonna require you to stand here and stir for quite a while. We're gonna start with a tablespoon each of unsalted butter and extra virgin olive oil. So now I've got a 1/4 cup of minced shallots. We want to sweat these down just a little bit over medium heat. Now off to the side here you can see that I've got my 1-quart pot filled with that chicken stock. It's steaming hot still, and that's really important. You want to have that hot so it doesn't slow down the cooking process as we add it 1 ladle at a time. And it's also got all of that great morel mushroom flavor infused into it. So this is gonna be a great heavy on the mushroom flavor profile. That's starting to soften up and getting a little brown. So next we're gonna add in 1 clove of garlic, minced, and 3/4 cup of orzo pasta. Toast this up for just a minute. Get each one of those coated in that oil, and then let them sit there and kind of toast before we start to hydrate them. We're also going to throw our morels in and get a little bit of color on those. We're hearing the popping of the pasta now. We're getting a little brown on the outside. Those mushrooms are softening up even more. So now we're going to add a little white wine. Take about a 1/4 cup of dry white wine. That's going to reduce down to just about nothing. And then we'll be ready to start adding our stock. And that's when everything's really going to cook. That's when our pasta's going to cook, start to hydrate. We'll get the mushrooms cooked all the way through as well. So liquid gone. Now we can start adding in our warm stock. And then this is pretty much your life now for the next, 20 to 30 minutes. Adding stock, agitating. You're working the starch out of the pasta like we would do with rice in a proper risotto. And once that liquid's just about gone, you're gonna add another ladleful. So we'll check back in once the stock level's getting a little bit lower and our orzo is puffing up. I've been stirring away for about 20 minutes now. Last of our stock is going into the pan. I've been checking the texture of the orzo as well. It's still a little bit hard right in the center, but that's perfect. I'd rather end it there than go like full mushy, especially because this is probably gonna sit here for the next 10 minutes or so before we're ready to get our chicken out. So with a little liquid still left in there, we're gonna melt another tablespoon of butter in here to finish this off, and then a little bit of cheese, and that we will call good. We'll give it a little taste test, see what we need to do seasoning wise, and then we'll let it kind of hang out as we go finish up that chicken. So this cheese is a black truffle Romano cheese, so it's got fantastic flavor. It's a little bit soft for a Romano, so it melts really nicely into a, pasta or a risotto. Just super creamy. Stuff's all melted down. Let's get a quick taste and turn the heat off. Oh my gosh. This right here is for the mushroom lover. Fantastic flavor. Amazingly not bland, despite the fact that we haven't put any salt in here yet. So let's season it up with just a little bit of salt and cover it so it's ready to go. We just hit 45 minutes on the chicken cook, so let's go check that out. Wow, these look amazing. Gonna check internal with the instant read thermometer, just creeping up on 155, and that 155 to 160 range is right where we want it. So I'm betting all 4 of these are just about ready to come off. 164. Look at the cheese skirt. All right, let's pull these out of here. So we're gonna get it all plated up now. Start with a couple scoops of our orzo risotto on the bottom. Let's go ahead and slice this one open. Now this is the one that had the least amount of leakage, but I bet it's got some good crust going on the bottom. Oh yeah. All those crusty little bits down there. So juicy. I'm excited to taste this one. Plop it right on top. Finish it off with just a little bit of parsley. Time to dig in and get a taste. Oh man. Cheesy goodness. Pesto is the first flavor that hits, for sure, but that cheesy goodness. I love the way it's crusted on the bottom. You got the crunch on the outside of the chicken, which is a great contrast to the creaminess of the cheese. And this risotto, orzo risotto. Man, so creamy, savory, umami, earthy mushroom flavor coming through. Fantastic complement to the pesto, which is kind of bright, sharp. These two go together really well, but you also could pull either one off without the other anytime you want to. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.